Hey everybody at home today. Like to give you an overview of your workflow for today. Like always, you're going to go to the AB learning activities. They're opening September 28th through October 2nd, and we're on the last day of the week. This week we are working on the Articles of Confederation government, where we've learned we didn't want a government that was too strong here in America after our revolution. Well, we create a government that's very weak and somewhat like chocolate chip cookies. All the states are very independent of each other. They're not really getting along and not really caring what happens in the other states. And we're not one unified country by any means. And kind of like a chocolate chip cookie, well, it can crumble and fall apart. And that's what the United States is doing. That's why we need a more perfect union. We'll learn some stories today and next week about how we need to form a more perfect union, how we need to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty that we've worked so hard to gain during our revolution. So, Monday, we learned about the Articles of Confederation, our first government that didn't really work very well. And Tuesday, depending, let me think, you would have been at home on Tuesday, so that's when you learned about the Articles of Confederation. Thursday, you took a field trip to the Betsy Ross house. Um, I apologize for the goofiness in the Betsy Ross website, where many of you couldn't get to that last page and find out that we don't know what Betsy Ross looks like. William Diver's nickname for the American flag is Old Glory, and a Betsy Ross flag is a flag that has 13 red and white stripes, a blue field, and 13 stars in a circle. That's what signifies a Betsy Ross flag is the 13 stars in a circle. Now, let's slide down here to today is what you're doing at home. So we're working on some of the problems of the Confederation years with a story called Shays Rebellion. How does Shays Rebellion prove America needed a better government? So you'll read a piece of the textbook about Shays Rebellion. You will also watch a video about Shays Rebellion from Ed Puzzle. There's some big words in there, so be careful, especially the word elite. An elite is a group of people that has a lot of political power and influences the government. So that's what they're talking about when they use the word elite. You'll answer today's LEQ, of course, being sure to prove to me you've learned something today, not copying and pasting from someone's website, but doing your own work. Then I'd like you to go to this Clarkey conversation, which is largely about our textbook, whether it's Fever 1793, My Brother Sam is Dead, or Chains. I'm going to have you work a little bit on housing. What kind of houses existed in the 1700s, late 1700s? So what you're going to do today is you're going to use your favorite search engine in this Clarkey conversation to find a picture of a house built in America. In America, be sure it's in America. In America between 1750 and 1820. You're going to copy and paste that picture. Yeah, here's the time when you're allowed to copy and paste. In fact, I expect you to put that picture into this discussion thread. You want to tell where that house is located. Giving me a state name is good enough. And then just simply describe that house. Use your powers of observation to tell me, what do you see? A state name is good enough. And so you can tell me, what's the house made of, or how many windows do you see? How many doors do you see? How many stories? Is there any kind of decoration on the house? Things like that. Now, after several people have posted their pictures, once you come back, and I think you can like the one that looks like the one you'd like to live in the most, click on the like button. See what you think of which houses look kind of cool. Here's an example for you of what you're doing. I used an example of a house from 1680, so I didn't take up any of the good examples you might use from the late 1700s. So there's my picture that I posted. I shrank it. You can do that. You can shrink it down to a reasonable size if it's too big, or expand it to a reasonable size if it's too small. This house is located in Boston, Massachusetts. In fact, it is Paul Revere's house, where you can go visit it on your next vacation. House is made of wood. You might say, gee, Mr. Clark, how did you know that? Well, it's not brick, it's not stone, it's not metal, so that's about our only remaining option is wood. It's 2 stories high. There's a downstairs and an upstairs. There's a door and windows covered with shutters on the first floor, more windows on the second floor. So there's a simple description. You don't have to be too fancy about that. Give me a nice description of the house. And well, as you read your trade book, you'll find there are different kinds of houses that different kinds of people live in. So that's our goal for today. Learn about Shays' Rebellion and some of the problems of the Confederation government, and then do a housing culture thing, which is part of how you are graded on your trade books. Now, let me remind you about your trade book. You should always be reading your trade book here while you're home. Okay, so if you go to class resources for everyone all semester, you'll see the links to your book. I'll just pull up chains as an example again. And we talked about this in class, but here's where we're headed. You want to read the book. If you don't have your book at home, you can do the read alouds on YouTube. You take the quizzes that are indicated by the different page numbers. Eventually, we'll do some activities on housing culture and food and clothing. In fact, what you're doing today about housing culture is part of your grade on your trade book activities. All right, so that's our job for today. You're the A group, so I will see you all on Monday.